Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Alright everyone, welcome to another recommendations video, and this one is one that is another oddly specific one. It was also one that it was very difficult to hunt down. So obviously this is what makes some things oddly specific and is more difficult to get to them. And it's funny to me because I absolutely know that I know more books for this rec video than I have, but sometimes when I'm doing my research for these, which yes, by that it mostly means going through my own previously read books, I have started keeping better track of things over the past couple of years, putting the kinks and the tropes and things in my tracking that I do. But phone sex isn't one that I have put as a kinky thing to mark out. So it's not something that I can search for. When I'm looking for daddy kink, as it were, I just go into my forms and I control search daddy kink, and there it is, and I can see which ones have it. It's also one that is very well loved by everyone right now, so it's a lot easier to look up and cross-reference with ones I've read and ones that I recommend. So yeah, whereas phone sex, I feel like it happens quite a bit, but to actually pick it out and recommend it, sometimes it's difficult. There was still one for sure I know that I didn't find because I couldn't find it listed with anyone and I couldn't remember the name of it, but I know that I really liked it. And it involved a phone sex line. And the mayor of a small town who's a woman and a firefighter who is the one he part-time does this. So if you know the book I'm talking about, please list it down below because that is one I wanted. It popped into my head that I remembered oh, that one's cool because it's a switch up of, it's a reverse age gap and, it's the woman calling in, but I couldn't find it and it wasn't listed anywhere. And so I run into that sometimes. I have a really good memory. I can really catch a lot of things. Sometimes it even bugs my friends that I remember stuff so perfectly. But for books, that's one of the things. Sorry, this is a side rant before we get into this because these recs will probably go pretty quickly. I remember really random things and, significant things. And for books, I have a really good memory. Even if I can't remember the title, like I said, I can remember exact scenarios from books. So even being someone who reads 500 to 700 books a year, usually if I see a part of the book, I can recall it. I'm not saying it's perfect recall or I'll remember everything, but I have a pretty good recall for stuff. But for that book, I couldn't remember it and couldn't find it. So if you know the one I'm talking about, where it's a mayor of a small town and she calls into a phone sex line, and it's a firefighter who in his off time does this hotline, please put it down below because I'm sure some other people would like it as well. But anyway, let's get into these recs. Now, another thing to remember with when I do an oddly specific rec is that I'm usually 90% confident in these recommendations. But again, because it is hard to cross-reference and not every book that's put on a Goodreads list and says that it has a thing in it actually does. And when I'm putting these lists together, I go off of what Goodreads says, but I like to cross-check with me. And you'll see some of these books are so, I read them so long ago that I can't 100% vouch for it. So if I'm wrong about anyone, I'm deeply sorry, but I have 8 recommendations here that I am 90 to 100% sure are correct. So you just have to spare me. That's what happens with being the person who does the oddly specific recs in Romance BookTube. That's what I got for you. So also, I am using my adorable little pumpkin tumbler that I got last year, and I actually made Chobani Creamer has a apple crumble, and I absolutely love the apple drinks at Starbucks, but they're so sweet. And I made one for myself, which I also put a pump of vanilla sugar-free in here, and it tastes like an apple crumble cake. It's amazing. Anyway, I just had to share that with you. I don't always share my drinks because they're usually pretty boring, but we did. Anyway, let us dive into some phone sex recommendations. As always, I will have links to all these down below. If you use an Amazon link to either purchase a book, it really helps out my channel. It really does. Every little bit adds up. But also for your reference, the books are down below. If you want to look more into it, you can go ahead and do that. All right, starting off with one that I absolutely adore, and I'm happy to bring this book up whenever it's possible to do so. We, of course, have Tempt by Melanie Harlow, and this one is an age gap ex-boyfriend's dad. It's absolutely lovely, okay? I adore it so much. This one is Zach, and this is Millie, yeah, I was right, yes. This is Millie and Zach, and they have a one-night stand at a bar that is so hot, but they're both there in town for different reasons. This isn't really where they're from, and they go their separate ways, and they don't think they'll ever see each other again, even though they just had amazing chemistry. Well, then, soon after, Zach finds out that he has a full-grown-ass son that he didn't know. And when he comes to town to actually meet his son and then be there for his wedding, he discovers that his son's ex-girlfriend and now current wedding planner is the curvy bombshell that he had a one-night stand with and hasn't been able to forget. So there are a few other things I really love in this as well. Obviously, there's so many things to love. I mean, Zach is just scrumdiddlyumptious here, okay? I adore him and Millie together. But I also really like that there is like a long distance relationship, which I mean, I don't love long distance relationships, but I liked how it was handled in here. You know, they both have commitments in other places and they can't just drop everything to be together. And so the beauty of long distance, which I mean, we'll see in a few of these recs, obviously it's going to come up, but it leads to some phone sex together and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I really, really love this couple, and I'll, as I said, use any excuse to recommend them whenever I can because they're amazing. All right, then we also have, this one's going to be shiny. This one is actually Us by Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen. This is one I don't usually show because it's usually him that I'm recommending, which you do need to start with him because this is the second half of a duet, which I guess is now a trilogy, but the third one is just a teeny tiny book. It's just like a check-in with them. But this is the next book after him. And this one is about Jamie and Ryan, and they have decided to be together at the end of him, HEA for them, but now they have to deal with the factor of one of them is a hockey coach and one of them is a player, and so there's lots of on the road and there's lots of being apart, and then they're still kind of keeping their relationship a secret because they don't know what it's going to do for their careers. And so there is many opportunities for some growly, delicious phone sex with each other while they are apart at different times. But I really love how the relationship grows in this. And this couple, Westme, I think that's their couple name, Westme just is always going to have a soft spot for me. And I wish that Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy would write another book together because they left us hanging with some of their couples, which made me very sad. We're going to stick with the hockey romance and go with Game Changers by Rachel Reed. This does have some similarities, of course, because it is someone else who is in hockey who is keeping his sexuality a secret, but when he makes a great connection with actually a like smoothie barista, they just have this crazy connection and they build this relationship that needs to be a secret, and it's really hard on both of them. There's a lot of angst in this one, but they also were so beautiful and sweet. And again, we have someone who's traveling a lot, and so the only way to get some relief with their partner is to use the phone, you know, which is delightful. All right, then we have a couple throwbacks here, which is where I said I might not perfectly remember these ones. But we have Love Her, Lose Her by Tessa Bailey. This is one I do remember wonderfully. This was one of my favorite reads the year that I read it, and it's probably still my favorite Tessa Bailey that I've read. It was absolutely beautiful because this one is a marriage in trouble. This one has our heroine who has felt that her husband is emotionally unavailable for her for years, and yeah, they have great sex. She knows they have great sex, but the connection the other time, his interest in her interests is just not there, and so she's ready to boot him out. She loves him, but she's ready to move on. And this really surprises Dom. It kind of like kicks him in the ass where he's like, wait, what? What's happening? Why? And they agree to have like couples therapy, but during the time they're going to therapy, they're living apart, and they're also going to like refrain from sex for a while. But there is a time where the hero and heroine still do get relief by calling each other. And what I really loved about this is that they're not actually that far away from each other, because they're still in the same town. They're just living in different places. And this one, there was something really hot about them having phone sex as a way to like, they're reconnecting, and they're not able, you know, the hero has to use his words to get her there instead of just relying on his like dominance and sexiness in the bedroom. Like, he has to like communicate what he thinks is sexy about her and like say it to her. And I just thought that that was really hot and really beautiful. So I love that in this one. There's also The Friend Zone by Kristen Callahan. And now we're getting into some that I don't remember them as well, but I know this one is a friends to lovers. It's also a sports romance. And I believe this one is like coach's daughter is what the Friend Zone one is. I think. I could be wrong. Again, I'm sorry. Not perfectly. But this is another one that I believe has it. There's also Not So Nice Guy by R.S. Gray. This one is another friends to lovers, and they're actually both teachers. This is one I actually plan to reread soon. I've gotten so far behind with our R.S. Gray's backlist. She writes very prolifically, has a book every couple months, and they're usually ones that I enjoy. There are very few that I like flat out don't enjoy. The audiobooks are very good. I need to see if there's some on AnyPlay or in one of the other programs that I use, because that might be a good way to catch up on some of these. But this was one that always stands out. It's one of my favorites by her, and they're actually both teachers, and like the hero is finally like making a move because there's someone else who might be making a move on his friend, and he's like, no, I've been waiting patiently, we're gonna make it happen. But there happens to be a no fraternization policy at their school. So when it comes out that they are dating, they may need to accelerate their relationship further than they planned if they both want to keep working there and they both want to pursue this relationship with each other, which I loved. And according to Goodreads, this is one where I'll put the asterisk. According to Goodreads, this one has some phone sex in it, which I, again, don't 100% remember that, but it was pretty high up on the Goodreads list, so we'll trust it for this one. If we're wrong, tell me. And remember that in this case too, phone sex can mean either texting scenarios or on the phone. So there we go. And then finally, the one I want to share, and this again, this is one, I don't remember this, but I wanted to share it because it's kind of different from some of the other ones. So obviously when we're talking about phone sex, it usually needs to be a time where phones exist and they're ones that we use. Now this isn't a like historical or like backward one like that, but it is a paranormal. And so I thought it'd be cool to include a paranormal that has phone sex because, you know, that's just not always an option in that genre. And so for this one, we actually have Dark Instincts by Suzanne Wright. This one is a part of the Phoenix Pack series. And I think for this one, they're actually separated for a while. Again, these books all really blur together, and it's kind of why I haven't read any more Suzanne Wright for a while, because a lot of her plots and the characters are very similar. But yeah, this one is a shifter wolf series. I love the dominance. I love the sexiness in these ones, so highly recommend this series at least. And this one supposedly has some phone sex in it. So there we go. All right, so there we go. We kept this video nice and short. This is my quick recs. This is oddly specific. I know there's a lot of room for improvement to this list. Like I said, this was harder to look up than I meant it to be. I will now be keeping my eye out for this, and it will be something that I now track as a fun, like, kinky thing, so that I can hopefully make a part 2 of this eventually. If you would like to request a video, which by the way, totally meant to say, credit for this idea goes to Melissa L, who requested phone sex recommendations. There we go. So please check out my video request form down below if you'd like to. Just a little note in that you only need to put a video in there once. If you put it in there once, I have it. It just means I haven't got to it yet, or I don't have enough recs to do it, or I'm not interested. That is fair. I see some where people put it in there. I can tell someone's doing it like every single week. They put the same one. The form stays there. It is evergreen. Just like with that and my book request form, I've had that open for 3 years. There are recs going back 3 years, just waiting for their day to be called up. So your video request is there. It just means that I haven't felt inspired to do it yet. So you only got to put it in once and we're there. But Melissa, thank you for this suggestion. I hope I gave you some that you haven't read before. And again, I would love to know your guys' recommendations. And if you'd like to get any of these books, I have the links down below. Thank you so much for watching, friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye.